Hello everyone, congratulations on making it through another Pride Month. Yeah, that's a whole month of weirdness, queerness, of people high on drugs, banging drums and blocking up major thoroughfares, and then getting up to, well, stuff that doesn't really bear thinking about on a Tuesday morning. Now, I don't know about you, but I felt Pride was somewhat muted this year. Normally, you can't go an hour without being bombarded by it in some iteration. Maybe this is part of the general repeal of wokeness we're seeing go on. Maybe it's that the powers that be think they've destroyed one area of Western life, now they need to destroy the other sacred cows, so we're completely destroyed. Or maybe we're just so used to it now, you barely notice it. Yet it's true that many corporations did back away from Pride this year. Many of them didn't have those stupid gay logos. Instead, they were pretending, yeah, we had nothing to do with that radical leftism all along. Yet, of course, these traitors did have a lot to do with engaging with this leftist radicalism which has undermined Western tradition, and we shouldn't forget that, nor should we forget how money power can usurp the corporate models in order to serve its own wants and needs for globalism. This is why I believe times are changing and we have to get out of the left-right dynamic as well as our economic understanding. The big battle is globalism versus tradition. But anyway, one corporation that shouldn't be allowed to forget about their past behaviour is Barclays. They fully have revelled in it over the years. Yet on your screen right now is one of Barclays' more recent adverts, and look, it's a heterosexual white couple getting married. Of course, there's a few token minorities around, but this is more symbolic of the 90s or the Norse in its flavour. Oh, by the way, the narrator in this advert says, because it's your decision what you do with your money, which is also the name of the advert. It drives me nuts, these modern corporations. Of course it's my decision what I do with my money. How sick are we as a society where you have to actually say that? I mean, what was going to happen? You get arrested if you buy a Julius Evola book. Yet my little paddy aside, the point is corporations have started to repeal their pride marketing quite significantly. The BBC is still on point though, as you might imagine. They published this piece recently trying to normalise, trans behaviour in the Anglican Church. Now, I won't subject you to the pain of having to read through this article. I'll give you the lowdown quickly. Basically, the guy on your screen is trans. I think he's a woman to man. And anyway, he's part of one of these radical gay churches you get in the Anglican tradition these days. And some woman, I think she's a black Brazilian girl, wanted to go out with him, but she turned out to be really weird and was stalking him and sending him all this kind of aggressive messaging. When he reported it to the Bishop of Leicester, who apparently is a strong runner for the next Archbishop of Canterbury, he didn't believe him. And he basically endured all this hell for a long time. And on it goes before eventually, this weirdo woman got outed and so on. Now, I'm sure it's not very nice for the guy, but there's a massive subtext of all this. This is the mess of the modern Anglican Church, and this is what happens when you let in this madness. But don't worry about that, you stupid bigots. Pride is a wonderful thing. Just ask J.K. Rowling. Here she is tweeting yesterday. Stephen Ireland, who targeted me with endless abuse on here because I oppose the chemical castration of children and the removal of protected spaces for women and girls, has just been sentenced to 30 years in jail for child rape. Oh, and by the way, Stephen Ireland was the founder of a Pride group, which is going to do wonders to stem the accusations that the Pride movement is now falling into some very, very unsavoury territory. Now, it's hard to get solid data as to whether the LGBTQ types are overrepresented with regard to such crimes. A cynic might say that's because modern academia, research institutions lean heavily left, and it's like trying to get funding for something like research into group-based differences. It's just not going to happen. One thing they will fund though, and fund happily, are research projects that explore how LGBTQ types have been victimised themselves, and study after study has found that LGBTQ people do report higher rates of basically abuse when they were children. Now, I have a theory here that they might be giving the game away by accident. For instance, it seems unlikely that these LGBTQ kids were being abused by heterosexual married men. I mean, I could be wrong, it just seems unlikely. Second to that, could it also mean that a big dimension of the Pride movement, especially its radicalism, is a lot of people coming to terms with their own abuse? Now, I understand that these are difficult questions that we're never really going to get an answer to from the liberal mainstream. It'll just be shut up, you bigots, and listen to Lady Gaga. Yet a lot of this does point towards some very unpalatable potential truths with regards to globalist liberal modernity and the system we live under. One such truth that the mainstream loves to ignore is that STI figures are extremely high amongst gay men. We're not supposed to notice, but it's basically an open secret. Now, I'm sure if this did ever make it to the mainstream, we'd hear the opinions of some blue-haired university researcher with a nose ring and a copy of Michel Foucault in one hand and a Galois in the other, saying, well, these gays are so oppressed that, they have to bum each other 10 times a day because, it helps them deal with their internalized oppression or whatever. Yet I don't buy this modernist crap. To my mind, the male sex drive is extremely strong and it needs to be civilized via initiation and maturation. That's normally guarded by the reserved female. It helps men evolve. Of course, the gays don't have that dynamic. It's just a free-for-all, and that is increasingly influencing the straight world as well. As soon as women basically get turned into whores, that not only ruins them, but the men, and then of course the society with it. But in modern globalist liberalism, or globlib as I like to call it, there's no such thing as sacred tradition that can order the soul of the individual, but also order the collective in a harmonious whole. No, that's all just toxic evil bigotry, and people like me are only fueled by hate, don't you know? But I do wonder, as wokeness loses its corporate backing, as the West descends more and more into degeneracy and decay, more and more people will start thinking, we've gone wrong somewhere along the line here. We need to find our roots and our sanity once more. And that's a position I would very much sympathise with. It's one of the main reasons why I started this sister channel, The Sacred Way, to try and reawaken our tradition, our spiritual tradition, especially the journeys of masculine and spiritual initiation, so our roots can touch something a bit deeper. Do check it out down below if you're interested. Other than that, let me know your thoughts on all this madness. Do consider subscribing to the channel if you're new.